How to radically live out James chapter 2 verse 13 and let mercy completely transform your relationships. Have you ever watched someone completely fall apart under the weight of judgment, while the person judging them believed they were doing something right? I have, and I'll never forget it. I was volunteering at a local shelter. One cold night, a young woman walked in. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Dirty hoodie, ripped jeans, arms crossed so tightly you'd think she was holding herself together by sheer force of will. As she stepped forward for help, one of the workers took one look at her and muttered under his breath, "We don't need more addicts in here." He didn't say it loud, but she heard. I watched as her face crumpled, not in anger, but in shame. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She just turned around and walked right back out into the freezing night. That moment haunted me, and it wasn't because someone said something rude. It was because I knew deep in my soul what had just happened. Judgment had triumphed over mercy. Exactly what James chapter 2 verse 13 warns us against. Because judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. Mercy triumphs over judgment. When I read that verse, it hit me like lightning. I mean, what if that girl never walks back into another shelter again? What if that one moment of judgment writes a permanent script in her mind? You're not worth helping. Now let me ask you this. How many times have we done something similar? Maybe not out loud. Maybe not to someone on the street, but maybe to a friend, a parent, a coworker, a spouse. Maybe we thought we were being honest. Maybe we thought we were protecting our boundaries. But deep down, what if it was judgment dressed up as truth? I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to walk with you, because I've been on both sides. And what I want to share with you today might just change everything about how you live, how you love, and how you heal. We're diving into the radical, upside-down, heart-shattering power of mercy, the kind that Jesus lived, breathed, and poured out. And if you stick with me, I promise this will not be a lecture. This is a wild, emotional, life-changing ride, because the moment we truly understand James chapter 2 verse 13, we don't just become better Christians. We become people who bring heaven to earth. Let's go back to Jesus. Imagine this scene. A crowd, dust in the air, angry voices, a woman, dragged, caught in the act of adultery, thrown before Jesus, everyone shouting for blood. Stones are already in their hands. This is law. This is justice. This is judgment. And then comes silence. Jesus stoops down and writes in the dust. We don't know what he wrote. Maybe the sins of the accusers. Maybe their names. But then he stands up, looks around, and says something that silences 1,000 voices in one breath. Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone. Silence again. One by one, they drop their stones. And when it's just him and the woman, Jesus says, Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? No one, sir, she replies. Then neither do I condemn you. He says, Go now and leave your life of sin. Do you see it? Judgment demanded death. Mercy gave life. And not just mercy as in forgiveness. This was an act of protection, restoration, dignity, transformation. Jesus didn't just forgive her. He gave her a path forward. He removed the weight of shame and handed her a future. Now let me hit you with something crazy. Every time we choose mercy over judgment, we are reenacting that story. We are stepping into the role of Christ. We are holding back the stones and offering healing instead. But here's the twist. It's not easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things you will ever do. I once had a friend betray me. Not accidentally, not carelessly. He stabbed me in the back in a moment I needed him most. I was furious. I played the victim card for weeks. I talked to other friends about what he did. I rehearsed what I'd say if I confronted him. And I told myself I was processing. But the truth was, I was holding on to judgment like it was a weapon, because deep down, it made me feel powerful. But God wouldn't let me stay there. One night, I opened my Bible to James chapter 2 verse 13. It was like the words were shouting, "Judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful." It hit me hard. I wanted mercy for myself, but I was denying it to others. And suddenly I realized, judgment might feel powerful, but mercy is divine. Mercy is what separates us from the world. It's what puts Christ in us. And it's the only way relationships survive real pain. So I called him. We met. I told him what he did hurt me deeply. But I wasn't there to accuse him. I was there to forgive him. He broke down. I broke down. And for the first time in months, I felt free. Now here's the kicker. What if I hadn't? What if I'd clung to my rightness? I might have won the argument in my mind, but lost a brother forever. Let me ask you something raw. Who in your life have you been judging instead of loving? Is it a sibling who constantly messes up? A friend who disappeared when you needed them? A parent who never said, "I'm proud of you"? What if you stopped trying to fix them, and started trying to free them? That's what mercy does. And mercy doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It doesn't mean enabling abuse or pretending everything's okay. Mercy is not weakness. It's spiritual courage. It's choosing to love when it's easier to stay hurt. It's setting boundaries without building walls. It's saying, "You don't owe me anything, but I choose to love you anyway." And here's the part nobody tells you. Mercy is magnetic. I've seen families healed, friendships resurrected, marriages restored, not through therapy or books, though those help, but through one person saying, "I'm laying down my right to be right." The cross is the ultimate picture of this. Jesus didn't die because we deserved it. He died because mercy demanded it. He looked at a world drowning in sin, betrayal, rejection, and pride, and said, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." Do you know what that means? You and we've already received the mercy we struggle to give. And the only way we become channels of that mercy is to remember the mercy that met us at our worst. So, let's get practical, because mercy is not just an emotion. It's a choice. It's action. And you don't need a stage or a sermon to live it out. You live it when you bite your tongue instead of snapping back. You live it when you reach out to the friend who ghosted you. You live it when you listen instead of accuse. You live it when you say, "I forgive you," and actually mean it. And you live it when you look at someone and say, "Your failure doesn't define you." Imagine a world where everyone lived like that. Homes would heal. Churches would thrive. Cities would change. That's not a fantasy. That's the kingdom of God. But it starts with you and me right now. Because judgment builds walls, but mercy builds bridges. Judgment ends conversations, but mercy starts healing. Judgment divides, but mercy unites. And in the end, James doesn't just say mercy is a good option. He says mercy wins. It triumphs. It dominates. It conquers judgment. So, are you ready to choose mercy? Are you ready to love like Jesus loved you? Are you ready to watch your relationships transform in ways you never thought possible? Because if you are, then get ready for what's coming next. Because in the next part, I'm going to share with you the most shocking story I've ever heard about mercy. The kind that turned a hardened criminal into a spiritual father. You do not want to miss it. He deserved a life sentence, but mercy did something even more unbelievable. He deserved a life sentence. No one argued that. He was found guilty on all counts. Drug trafficking, aggravated assault, armed robbery, a long rap sheet, hardened, dangerous. Even the public defender barely looked him in the eye. But what happened next, no one saw coming. I sat in the courtroom that day. The judge was known for being strict, no nonsense. People called him the hammer behind his back. But when the time came for sentencing, he looked at the man and paused. Then he did something wild. He took off his glasses, leaned forward, and said, "You're guilty, but I see a man who's been drowning since he was a kid. I see a boy who was abused, neglected, and hardened by a world that never showed him love. I can send you to prison for the rest of your life. Or I can send you somewhere that might just give you your life back." Everyone was silent. The judge chose mercy. He sentenced him to a radical rehabilitation program instead of prison. And 3 years later, that man came back to the courtroom. Not in handcuffs, not with guards, but with a Bible in his hand and a fire in his eyes. He was clean, changed, and leading a ministry that helped ex-convicts find jobs, homes, and God. I got to interview him. And you know what he said? That judge saw the me I didn't believe could exist, and that changed everything. That's the power of mercy. It sees beyond the brokenness and into the blueprint. It calls out the masterpiece hidden beneath the mess. It doesn't ignore the facts. It overrides them with faith. Now pause with me for a second. What would happen if we started seeing people like that judge did? What would happen if we saw people not just for what they've done, but for what they could become through Christ? I think Jesus was trying to show us exactly that when he told the parable of the unmerciful servant in Matthew chapter 18. A servant owed a king an impossible debt, millions of dollars in today's money. He begged for mercy, and the king, in a stunning act of grace, forgave the entire debt, just like that, erased, gone. But then, here's where it gets heartbreaking. That same servant goes out, finds someone who owes him a tiny amount, and starts choking him, demanding repayment. When the man begs for time, he refuses and has him thrown into prison. When the king finds out, he's furious. "You wicked servant," he says, "I forgave you all that debt because you begged me. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had on you?" And the servant is handed over to be punished. Jesus ends the story by saying, "This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart." That hits hard, doesn't it? It's like Jesus is saying, don't just accept mercy, become it. But here's the struggle. We're wired for fairness, not mercy. Mercy feels unfair. It feels like weakness. It feels like letting someone get away with it. But that's only if you see life through the eyes of the world. If you look through the eyes of Jesus, mercy isn't unfair. It's a miracle. It's the supernatural act of breaking a cycle that's been crushing people for generations. I once met a woman named Ruth. Her son was murdered, a robbery gone wrong. The killer was just 17. The whole town wanted him locked away forever. But Ruth did something nobody expected. She visited him in prison. She looked him in the eye, and she said, "I forgive you." He couldn't believe it. He sobbed uncontrollably. He asked why, and she said, "Because I'm a follower of Jesus, and he forgave me. I refuse to live the rest of my life bound by hate." That young man gave his life to Christ in prison. Years later, Ruth testified at his parole hearing, not to keep him locked up, but to give him a second chance. And guess what? When he got out, she helped him find a job. They now run a grief support ministry together. For victims and offenders, people come broken and leave healed. Why? Because mercy showed up. That's what mercy does. It transforms pain into purpose. Now, let's get uncomfortably honest for a moment. Who are you holding hostage in your heart? Is there someone whose name makes your chest tighten? Someone you've secretly hoped would fail? Someone you've judged as unworthy of your grace? Let me ask you something raw. What if Jesus had treated you the same way? You see, We love to receive mercy, but we often resist giving it, because giving mercy requires death. Death to ego, death to pride, death to the need to be right. But in the kingdom of God, death always leads to resurrection. The death of judgment births the life of connection. The death of resentment births the life of healing. The death of pride births the life of peace. I want to challenge you to do something radical this week. Reach out to one person who doesn't deserve it, someone you've written off, someone who hurt you, someone who never said sorry. Reach out, not with judgment, not with a lecture, but with mercy. Even if it's just a message that says, "I've been carrying something heavy between us, and I want to let it go." You might not get the response you want, but you'll get the freedom you need. And don't stop there. Speak mercy. Live mercy. Radiate mercy. When your spouse snaps at you, respond with gentleness instead of sarcasm. When your child messes up, remind them that their mistake doesn't define their identity. When your coworker gossips, choose to protect their reputation instead of piling on. This isn't about being passive. It's about being powerful in a higher way. Jesus was not weak. He flipped tables. He confronted hypocrisy, but he also bent down to wash the feet of traitors. He forgave murderers. He loved the unlovable. He saw the gold in the garbage. And he calls us to do the same. Because James chapter 2 verse 13 isn't just a verse. It's a sword. It cuts through our excuses. It slices away our pride. And it carves out a new way to be human. Mercy triumphs over judgment. And here's a little known truth. That word, triumph, in the original Greek, it's not just wins. It means boasts over, celebrates over, rejoices in victory. In other words, when mercy steps into the ring with judgment, it doesn't just win, it throws a party. It dances on the grave of legalism. It erupts in joy over redemption. So let me leave you with a question. When people encounter you, do they walk away feeling judged or embraced? Because here's the thing, we are all someone's only glimpse of Jesus. Let them see the Jesus who kneels in the dust, not the one who throws stones. Let them hear the Jesus who says, "Come as you are," not the one who says, "Get it together first." Let them feel the Jesus who died for them before they ever did anything right. Because that's what changed you. And that's what will change them. You've made it this far. But trust me, the most powerful part is still ahead. Because in the final segment, I'm going to show you how living out James chapter 2 verse 13 can not only transform your relationships, but can literally change the legacy of your entire family, your church, and maybe even your city. There's a hidden blessing in mercy most people never talk about. And once you see it, you'll never go back to living the old way again. The shocking blessing hidden inside mercy that could change your family forever. There's a story I need to tell you. A story about a man who should have passed pain down to his children. But instead, he passed down peace, and it all started the day he chose mercy over judgment. His name was Samuel. I met him at a small Bible study in the back of a coffee shop. He didn't look like someone with a violent past. Kind smile, gentle eyes, but once he started talking, I understood the depth of transformation. Samuel grew up in a house filled with rage. His father beat him. His mother abandoned him. By age 16, he was already arrested twice. By 20, he was in prison. One night, during a prison riot, Samuel got stabbed. He was rushed to the infirmary, barely hanging on, and while lying there between life and death, something unexplainable happened. He saw a vision. He saw Jesus standing beside him, not with a sword, but with tears in his eyes. Jesus said, "You don't have to keep the pain going." Samuel woke up crying, and from that moment on, something changed. He started reading the Bible. He started praying for the very guards who mocked him. And when he was released 6 years later, he didn't go back to his old life. He went into ministry. But the most powerful part? Samuel got married, he had kids, and he swore that the violence would stop with him. "I will not pass this down," he told me. "My children will grow up knowing mercy, not fear." That's the hidden blessing of mercy. It breaks generational curses. It ends cycles of bitterness. It turns victims into healers. James chapter 2 verse 13 doesn't just teach us how to forgive others. It teaches us how to rewrite the story our lives are telling. Because when you choose mercy, you're not just impacting one person. You're changing every person they will ever impact. That's legacy. Think about that for a second. What if one act of mercy could change your family tree? What if one decision to forgive your father changes how you raise your son? What if choosing to extend grace to your spouse teaches your kids how to love without fear? What if writing that letter, making that call, offering that hug, is the spiritual domino that brings healing to places in your family that haven't seen light in generations? I've seen it happen. I've watched wives forgive husbands who were emotionally distant, and suddenly, the whole household softened. I've watched brothers reunite after decades of silence, because one of them laid their pride down. I've watched church members, who once sat on opposite sides of the room because of a conflict, stand together and lead worship in unity. And in every one of those moments, James chapter 2 verse 13 came to life. Mercy triumphs over judgment. Let me take you even deeper. We often think mercy is something we give when someone deserves a second chance. But the Bible flips that idea on its head. Romans chapter 5 verse 8 says, "While we were still sinners, Christ died for us." Not after we repented. Not after we cleaned ourselves up. While we were still sinners. Jesus didn't wait for us to change to show us mercy. His mercy changed us. So if you're waiting for someone to deserve your mercy, you've missed the point. Mercy isn't a transaction. It's a gift. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's a seed that grows transformation. And sometimes, the person who needs your mercy most is you. Let's talk about that. Some of you have been walking around carrying shame like a backpack full of bricks. You've judged yourself more harshly than anyone else ever could. You replay your mistakes in your head every night. You think you're disqualified from joy, from purpose, from love. But listen to me right now. The cross wasn't just about forgiving others. It was about forgiving you. Jesus didn't die so you could carry guilt forever. He died to set you free. And if the King of Heaven has already declared you forgiven, who are you to keep holding yourself hostage? Show yourself mercy. Speak to yourself the way Jesus speaks to you. You are loved. You are seen. You are not your worst day. Because once you start treating yourself with mercy, it becomes natural to treat others that way too. This is where everything shifts. You don't just become a better person. You become a mirror of Christ. You become a carrier of the kingdom. And when people meet you, they meet a glimpse of heaven. But don't expect everyone to understand. Mercy is radical. Mercy is countercultural. Mercy is offensive to the self-righteous. There will be people who say, "Why would you forgive them?" Or, "You're too soft." Or, "You're being taken advantage of." But let me ask you this. Did they say the same thing to Jesus? When he ate with sinners? When he wept for murderers? When he washed Judas's feet? Jesus didn't love the way the world loves. And neither should we. Because we're not here to fit in. We're here to stand out. We're here to shock the system with mercy, to light up darkness with compassion, to disrupt hate with grace. So here's your challenge. Find someone today, yes, today, and show them mercy. Call your estranged sibling. Text that friend who betrayed your trust. Walk into your kitchen and hug your spouse after a fight. Speak to yourself kindly in the mirror. Start the ripple. Because mercy multiplies. One act of mercy becomes a river. And rivers change landscapes. So let's change the landscape of our homes, our friendships, our churches, our communities, and maybe, just maybe, the world. Let me close with this. Jesus once told his disciples, "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy." Do you see the loop? Mercy received becomes mercy given, which leads to more mercy received. It's a divine cycle. And it starts with you. You might not have the platform of a preacher, or the robe of a priest, or the influence of a politician. But you have the Spirit of the living God inside you. And with that comes the power to choose mercy every single day. So go be that person. The one who forgives quickly. The one who listens deeply. The one who loves radically. The one who lives James chapter 2 verse 13 like it's written on their heart. Because here's the truth. Mercy doesn't just change others. It changes you. Forever. Now go, let mercy transform your relationships, and watch your entire life be rewritten by the grace of God. Mercy triumphs over judgment. James chapter 2 verse 13. Let this be the story your life tells. If this message stirred something in your heart, like, comment, and share it. Tell us your story. And remember, you are not alone. You are deeply loved, and your mercy could be someone's miracle.